Fruits and Figs here. Today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm normally outside in the garden, but I want to do a little bit of pickle making. So I'm going to be turning these into these nice dill pickles. So if you've ever had a good dill pickle, you know just how great they taste. So how can you make your own dill pickles? Let's go through the steps. The first thing you're going to need to do is collect all of your ingredients. You're going to need kosher salt, 3 quarts of non-chlorinated water. You're going to need a dozen bay leaves, a teaspoon of peppercorns and 4 cloves, a teaspoon of mustard seeds, a teaspoon of red pepper flakes, 16 cloves of garlic, and a bunch of dill, and of course, you're going to need cucumbers. Now, what do? Well, you're going to want to take your water, put it in a pot, add 5 tablespoons of the salt, stir it around so it dissolves, and then boil it for 3 minutes. Then turn the pot off and let it cool to room temperature. And that is going to become your brine for your pickles. The next thing you need to do is you need to clean these cucumbers. Just wash them off in the sink. And then what we're going to do is we're going to cut off the ends. There are 2 ends on a cucumber. There's the end that had the stem. You'll see that it's usually ripped off there. And then what they call the blossom end. This was the flower. Now there are enzymes in the end of a cucumber that are going to make your pickles go soft if you leave this end intact. So we're going to cut that off. So let me go now to cleaning the cucumbers, and we'll come back to put everything together. I just leave my water running, grab a cucumber, and then rub it vigorously under the stream, making sure that I get all those little spines off and get rid of any leaves or debris that are stuck to the cucumber. Drop it in the colander and start the process over again. Now, for your brine, you're going to take 5 tablespoons of salt. I use kosher salt, non-iodized. Put that in the bottom of the pot. And then into that pot, pour your water. That's 3 quarts of water, and turn it on. Give it a stir, and then when it's boiling, let it go for 3 minutes. I counted my cucumbers. I've got 22 cucumbers. Now, you don't want to let your cucumbers get too big. If you look at these cucumbers, they have what I call kind of like ridges in them. They're not fully blown up, fully grown cucumbers. I like to use these a little young because they stay nice and crisp and make for great pickles. So make sure that you pick them and don't let them swell up. Also, that'll mean that the seeds are a lot smaller inside. So like I said before, we're going to take a knife and we're going to cut off both ends. You don't need to cut off a lot, just about 1/4 inch, and then put it in a bowl. Now you'll also notice that I've got some cucumbers that were not fully pollinated. That's what happens when the little end curls over. I save these and I use them where, well, I'm just looking to fit something in, squeeze in and use up every last inch of space in that pickle jar. So don't throw these away. They look a little strange, but they taste just fine. Now, I always like to take my jar and put it in the oven at 200 degrees and let it bake that way for 15 minutes. That will ensure that it's nice and sterilized. Then, just let it cool for a while, and you can pack your pickles. Now we're ready to stuff our pickle jar. The first thing I do, after rinsing off my dill, is I take about half of the bunch, and I just crash it in my hands, which I've washed beforehand. That's going to release all that beautiful dill flavor. Put it in the bottom of the jar, and man, you can smell that dill already. Then I put in about half of my mustard seed, and I take about half of my bay leaves and I put them on the bottom. Now I start packing the cucumbers. And the goal is to take the bigger ones and have them stand up on the bottom. Cutting them flat really helps. Just squeeze them down in there. And then I'll take my garlic cloves and drop them in. About half my garlic will go down here on the bottom. Put half my pepper flakes, my cloves, and half my peppercorns. And now I've got layer number one. Looks like I can squeeze one more cucumber down there in the middle. Now I'm just going to repeat the process, putting another layer of dill, leaving a little bit for the top. I'm going to crush that dill again, nice and hard. Stick it here, spread it out and around. Tuck it down a little bit. And now I'm going to put that second layer. This one I think I'm going to cut in half. No problem. You want to leave some gap in your pickle jar so that the cucumbers are under the solution, the brine solution. I'm going to put the rest of my garlic cloves, spread these around in between. One's running away on me. The rest of my spices, the red pepper, the mustard seed, the peppercorns, and then finally, I'm going to slide in around the jar these bay leaves. They're going to absorb water, and this is what helps your cucumbers from getting mushy. These will keep them nice and crisp. You can also use a grape leaf or even an oak leaf. And then finally, I top it off with my dill. Now in a minute, I'll finish up and put the brine in. I've allowed my brine solution, the salt and the water that we boiled earlier, to drop to room temperature. Now I'm just going to pour it in and fill up the jar. Now I've got a little bit left. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get a plastic bag and I'm going to put some of the brine solution in a plastic bag. I'm going to zip it up, trying to get the air out. And then I'll put this in the top of the jar, and if you get a close-up, you can see that it pushes everything down under the water. Now, this jar top has a rubber seal that I could use, but I don't want to use it. I'm just going to leave the glass on glass, which leaves a little bit of airspace in here for the pickles to do their work. As they begin fermenting, what's going to happen, bubbles are going to bubble up inside here. The gases are going to form, and if you seal this completely, you could actually crack your jar and lose your pickles and all the brine on the floor. So there we are. I'm going to keep this now at 70 degrees in my basement, in a dark spot. That I've found to be my secret for not having the pickles become too sour. 3 days later, they'll be ready to eat. Now you'll notice this is the jar that we just completed, and this is the one that's about 3 days old. I just pulled it up from the basement. Notice how it's cloudy. Don't be worried about that. It's supposed to get cloudy. That's the helpful bacteria that form and create the great pickle flavor. Now, if you get a little bit of mold around the top when you open your jar, it's not a problem. Just scoop that off and throw it away. You can use a spoon. It'll be fine. Now, this is what you're waiting for, the taste test. And listen to the crunch. Mmm. Absolutely outstanding. You can make dill pickles from your cucumbers too. Well, this is Fruits and Figs signing off for now. I'm going to take my new batch of dill pickles down in the basement. If you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button and please subscribe.